This is going to be a boring video. I'm reading Shakespeare from the top. From the top of King Henry IV, Part 1. Don't watch this video if you don't want to see me screw it all up. The first part of King Henry IV. Enter the King. Lord John of Lancaster, Earl of Westmoreland, Sir Walter Blunt, with others. King. So shaken as we are, so wan with care, find we a time for frightened peace, to pant and breathe short-winded accents of new broils, to be commenced in strauns afar remote. No more the thirsty entrance of this soil shall daub her lips with her own children's blood. No more shall trenching war channel her fields, nor bruise her flowers, flowerets, with the armed hoofs of hostile paces, those opposed eyes which, like the meteors of a troubled heaven, all of one nature, of one substance bred, did lately meet in the intestine shock and furious close of civil butchery, shall now in mutual well-beseeming ranks march all one way, and be no more opposed against acquaintance. A kindred and allies. The edge of war, like an ill-sheathed knife. No more shall cut his master. Therefore, friends, as far as to the sepulchre of Christ, whose soldier now, under whose blessed cross we are impressed and engaged to fight, forthwith a power of English shall we levy, whose arms are moulded in their mother's womb, to chase these pagans in those holy fields over whose acres walked those blessed feet, which 1400 years ago were nailed for our advantage to the bitter cross. But this our purpose now is 12 months old, and bootless 'tis. Bootless 'tis to tell you we will go, therefore we meet not now. Then let me hear of you, my gentle cousin, Westmoreland, what yesternight our council did decree in forwarding this dear expedience. Westmoreland, my liege. This haste was hot in question, and many limits of the charge set down but yesternight, when all athwart there came a post from Wales, loaden with heavy news, whose worst was that the noble Mortimer, leading the men of Herefordshire to fight against the irregular and wild Glendower, was by the rude hands of that Welshman taken, 1,000 of his people butchered, upon whose dead corpse there was much misuse, such beastly shameless transformation, but by Westmoreland, by Welshwoman rather, such beastly shameless transformation, by those Welshwomen done as may not be without much shame retold or spoken of. King. It seems that the tidings of this broil break off our business for the Holy Land, Westmoreland. This, matched with other, did my gracious lord, for more uneven and unwelcome news came from the north, and thus it did import. An holy rude day, the gallant Hotspur there, young Harry Percy, and brave Archibald, that ever valiant and approved Scot, at Holmenden met, where they did spend a sad and bloody hour, as by discharge of their artillery, in shape of likelihood, the news was told. For he that brought them, in the very heat and pride of their contention, did take horse, uncertain of the issue anyway. King, here is a dear, a true, industrious friend. Sir Walter Blunt, new lighted from his horse, stained with the variation of each soil betwixt the Holmedon and his seat of ours. And he hath brought us smooth and welcome news. The Earl of Douglas is discomfited. 10,000 bold Scots, 22 knights, balked in their own blood, did Sir Walter see on Holmedon's plains. Of prisoners, Hotspur took Mordache, Earl of Fife, and eldest son, to beaten Douglas, and the Earl of Atholl. Of Murray, Angus, and Menteith, and is not this an honourable spoil? A gallant prize? Ha, cousin, is it not? That's Westmoreland, in faith. It is a conquest for a prince to boast of. King, yea, there thou makest me sad, and makest me sin in envy that my Lord Northumberland should be the father to so blessed a son who is the theme of honour's tongue, amongst a grove, the very straightest plant, who is sweet fortune's minion, and her pride, whilst I, by looking on the praise of him, see riot and dishonour stain the brow of my young Harry. Oh, that it could be proved that some night-tripping fairy had exchanged in cradle clothes our children where they lay, and called mine Percy his Plaginet. Then would I have his Harry and he mine. But let him from my thoughts. What think you, coz, of this Percy's pride? The prisoners which he in his adventure hath surprised to his own use he keeps, and sends me word I shall have none but Mordache, Earl of Fife. Westmoreland, this is his uncle's teaching. This is Worcester, malevolent to you in all aspects, which makes him prune himself and bristle up the crest of youth against your dignity. King, but I have sent for him to answer this, and for this cause awhile we must neglect our holy purpose to Jerusalem. Cousin, on Wednesday next our council we will hold at Windsor, so inform the lords, but come yourself with speed to us again, for more is to be said and to be done than of our anger can be uttered. Westmoreland, my liege, I will, my liege, and scene. We can do some more. You need to take a breath. Enter Prince of Wales, and Sir John Falstaff. Falstaff. Now, Hal, what time of day is it, lad? Prince, thou art so fat-witted with drinking of old sack, and unbuttoning thee after supper, and sleeping upon benches after noon, that thou hast forgotten to demand that which thou wouldst truly know. What the devil hast thou to do with time of day, unless hours were cups of sack, and minutes capons, and clocks the tongues of bawds, and dials the signs of leaping houses, and the blessed sun himself a fair hot wench in flame-coloured taffeta? I see no reason why thou shouldst be so superfluous to demand the time of the day. Falstaff. Indeed, thou comest near me now, Hal, for we that take purses go by the moon and the 7 stars, and not by Phoebus, he that wandering knight so fair. And I, prithee, sweet wag, when thou art king, as thou art the king, as God save thy grace, majesty, I should say, for grace thou wilt have none. Prince, what, none? Falstaff, no, by my troth, not so much as will serve to be prologue to an egg and butter. Prince, well, how then? Come, roundly, roundly. Falstaff, marry then, sweet wag, when thou art king, let not us that are squires of the night's body be called thieves of the day's beauty. Let us be Diana's. Let us be Diana's foresters. Diana's foresters, gentlemen of the shade, minions of the moon. And let men say we be men of good government, being governed as the sea is, by our noble and chaste mistress, the moon, under whose countenance we steal. Prince, thou sayest well, and it holds well too. For the fortune of us that are the moon's men doth ebb and flow like the sea, being governed as the sea is by the moon. As for proof now, a purse of gold most resolutely snatched on Monday night, and most dissolutely spent on Tuesday morning, got with swearing lay by, and spent with crying bring in. Now, in as low an ebb as the foot of the ladder, and by in as high a flow as the ridge of the gallows. Falstaff, by the Lord, thou sayest true, lad, and is not my hostess of the tavern a most sweet wench? Prince, as the honey of Hybla, my old lad of the castle, and is not a buff jerkin a most sweet robe of durance? Falstaff, how now, mad wag? What, in thy quips and thy quiddities? What a plague have I to do with a buff jerkin? Prince, why, what a pox have I to do with my hostess of the tavern? Falstaff, well, thou hast called her to a reckoning many a time and oft. Let's stop saying their names every time because it's short. I'm just going to pivot. Well, so Prince says, what a... Falstaff, well, thou hast called her to a reckoning many a time and oft. Did I ever call thee to pay thy part? Falstaff, no. I'll give thee thy due. Thou hast paid all there. Prince, yea, and elsewhere, so far as my coin would stretch, and where it would not, I have used my credit. Falstaff, yea, and so used it that were it not here apparent that thou art heir apparent. But I prithee, sweet wag, shall there be gallows standing in England when thou art king, and the resolution thus fubbed as it is with the rusty curb of old Father Antic the law? Do not thou, when thou art king, hang a thief? Prince, no, thou shalt. Falstaff, shall I? Oh, rare. By the Lord, I'll be a brave judge. Prince, thou judgest false already. I mean, thou shalt have the hanging of the thieves, and so become a rare hangman. Falstaff, well, Hal, well. And in some sort it jumps with my humor as well as waiting in the court, I can tell you. Prince, for obtaining of suits, yea, for obtaining of suits, whereof the hangman hath no lean wardrobe, 's blood. I am as melancholy as a gib-cat or a lugged bear. Prince, or an old lion or a lover's lute, yea, of the drone of the Lincolnshire bagpipe. What sayest thou to a hare, or the melancholy of Moorditch? Falstaff, thou hast the most unsavoury similes, and art indeed the most comparative rascaliest sweet young prince. But Hal, I prithee trouble me no more with vanity. I would to God thou and I knew where a commodity of good names were to be bought. An old lord of the council rated me the other day in the street about you, sir. But I marked him not, and yet he walked away wisely. He talked very wisely. But I regarded him not, and yet he talked wisely. In the street, too. Prince, thou didst well, for wisdom cries out in the streets, and no man regards it. Falstaff, oh, thou hast a damnable iteration, and art indeed able to corrupt the saint. Thou hast done much harm upon me, Hal. God forgive thee for it. Before I knew thee, Hal, I knew nothing. And now am I, if a man should speak truly, little better than one of the wicked. I must give over this life, and I will give it over. By the Lord, and I do not, I am a villain. I'll be damned for never a king's son in Christendom. Prince, where shall we take the purse tomorrow, Jack? Falstaff, zoons, where thou wilt, lad. I'll make one, and I do not. Call me villain and baffle me. Prince, I see a good amendment of life in thee, from praying to purse-taking. Falstaff, why, Hal, 'tis my vocation, Hal. 'Tis no sin for a man to labour at his vocation. Enter Poins. Still Falstaff, though. Poins, Poins. How shall we know if Gad shall have set a match? Oh, if men were to be saved by merit, what hole in hell were hot enough for him? This is the most omnipotent villain that ever cried stand to a true man. Prince, good morrow, Ned. Poins, good morrow, sweetheart Hal. What says Monsieur Remorse? What says Sir John Sack and Sugar? Jack, how agrees the devil and thee about thy soul? That thou soldst him on Good Friday last for a cup of Madeira and a cold capon's leg. Prince, Sir John stands to his word. The devil shall have his bargain, for he was never yet a breaker of proverbs. He will give the devil his due. Poins, then thou art damned for keeping thy word with the devil. Prince, Alcy had become damned for cozening the devil. Poins, but my lads, tomorrow morning, by 4 o'clock early at Gad's Hill, there are pilgrims going to Canterbury with rich offerings, and trades and traders riding to London with fat purses. I have vizards for you all. You have horses for yourself. Gadshill lies tonight. In Rochester, I have bespoke summer tomorrow night in Eastcheap. We may do it as secure as sleep. If you will go, I will stuff your purses full of crowns. If you will not, tarry at home and be hanged. Falstaff, hear ye, Edward. If I tarry at home and go not, I'll hang you for going. Poins, you will chop? Falstaff, how? Wilt thou make one? Prince, who, I rob? I a thief? Not I, by my faith. Falstaff, there's neither honesty, manhood, nor good fellowship in thee. Nor thou camest not of the blood royal if thou darest not stand for 10 shillings. Prince, well then, once in my days I'll be a madcap. Falstaff, why, that's well said. Prince, well, come what will, I'll tarry at home. Falstaff, by the Lord, I'll be a traitor then, and when thou art king. Prince, I care not. Sir John, I prithee, leave the prince and me alone. I will lay him down such reasons for this adventure that he shall go. Falstaff, well, God give thee the spirit of persuasion, and him the ears of profiting, that what thou speakest may move, and what he hears may be believed. But the true prince may, for recreation's sake, prove a false thief. Farewell. Oh, wait, for the poor abuses of the time want countenance. Farewell. Thou shalt find me at Eastcheap. Prince, farewell, thou latter spring, farewell, all hallowed summer. Exit Falstaff. Poins, now, my good sweet honey lord, ride with us tomorrow. I have a jest to execute, and I cannot manage alone. Falstaff, Baldorf, Pito, and Gadshill shall rob those men that we have already waylaid. Yourself and I will not be there. And when they have the booty, if you and I do not rob them, cut this head off from my shoulders. Prince, how shall we part with them in setting forth? Poins, why, We shall set forth before or after them, and appoint them a place of meeting, wherein it is at our pleasure to fail, and then will they adventure upon the exploit themselves, which they shall have no sooner achieved, but will set upon them. Prince, yea, but 'tis like that they will know us by our horses, by our habits, and by every other appointment, to be ourselves. Poins, tut, our horses they shall not see. I'll tie them in the wood. Our vizards will change after we leave them. No, sirrah, I have cases of buckram for the nonce, to inmask our noted outward garments. Prince, yea, but I doubt they will be too hard for us. Poins, well, for 2 of them, I know them to be as true-bred cowards as ever turned back, and for the 3rd, if he fight longer than he sees reason, I'll forswear arms. The virtue of this jest will be the incomprehensible lies that this same fat rogue will tell us when we meet at supper, how thirsty, at least, he fought with. How 30, at least, he fought with. What wards, what blows, what extremities he endured, and in the reproof of this lives the jest. Prince, well, I'll go with thee. Provide us all things necessary, and meet tomorrow night in Eastcheap. There I'll sup. Farewell. Farewell, my lord. Exit. Prince, alone. I know you all, and will a while uphold the unyoked humour of your idleness. Yet herein will I imitate the sun, who doth permit the base contagious clouds to smother up his beauty from the world, that when he please again to be himself, being wanted, he may be more wondered at, by breaking through the foul mists and ugly vapours that did seem to strangle him. If all the year were playing a holiday, to sport would be as tedious as to work. But when they seldom come, they wished for come. And nothing pleaseth but rare accidents. So, when this loose behaviour I throw off, and pay the debt I never promised, by how much better than my word I am, by so much shall I falsify men's hopes, and like bright metal on a sullen ground, my reformation, glittering o'er my fault, shall show more goodly and attract more eyes than that which hath no foil to set it off. So I'll offend to make offence a skill, redeeming time when men think least I will. I'm going to stop there. Thank you for watching, YouTube. I appreciate all of your great attention.